Hey everyone, I'm Nerizza, creator of the Enlightened Vegetarian, and today is the video for the test on lumpia wrappers. Now I know I kind of joked and called it the lumpia wrap battle, just a little play on words there, lumpia wrap battle, get it? Anyway, but you know, this really is to test out the many different lumpia wrap brands out there, lumpia wrapper brands, because there are so many. And in this video, I have chosen 9 different brands, and I just wanted to see, you know, for the consumer out there, for all of us making lumpia at home, I just wanted to know which one was the best, and also to see the different qualities of each wrapper. Now, many years ago, I started catering Filipino food along with my husband and my mother and father-in-law who trained me. And I have wrapped so many lumpia in the course of 12 years. And I have some pictures here that will come up so you could see some of the catering that we did. And along with this was thousands of lumpia. Now what's strange is I don't have a picture. I couldn't find a picture of me wrapping lumpia. But that's also not strange because I was doing this while I had 2 little kids and a little baby, you know, tugging at my leg or whatever, you know, sitting down, wrapping hundreds of lumpias at a time. And I always used one brand, one for economical reasons, 2, the availability and access of it. But you know, what really surprised me is the brand that I used is not my #1 choice. And I discovered that through this test kitchen, so to speak. So I want to share that with you. And of course, this is not to make any lumpia brand look bad. And all of them have great qualities. And it just depends on things like, you know, how long the lumpia will sit after you cook and fry them, and other things like color, texture, appearance, and even some authenticity. I try not to use the word authentic, but you know, the original way that lumpia wrappers were made, not just in the Philippines, but in Asia, of course, you know, was by hand with a very sticky dough. And I will do another video to show you that. But so there are a few brands that replicate that authenticity. So I just want to go over these options for you today, show you what I found, and then I'll share with you my top pick. I rated them from 1 to 9. But after this, you can decide what you want to use. Okay, so let's get right into it. Okay, so as I go through all the different brands, I will be looking at my computer here and referencing my Excel drive where I have input all of my notes about each brand, when I wrap them, when I fry them. I don't want to make a super long video, but when doing a test kitchen, so to speak, there is research involved, and I want you to know I did the work and I did the research. So here we go. So the first one I have here is the brand Spring Home, and the different brands will pop up here next to me. There's an image of that right here. And so Spring Home is a product of Singapore. It's mostly transparent with pink and white decorative border on the package. I'm sure you may have seen this in the store. It says TYJ, I don't know what that means, but spring roll pastry. The quantity is 25. Obviously the shape is square. I found the peel process very easy. The texture was smooth, feels thicker than others. And it didn't so much have like a rubbery feel, and there were other brands that did have kind of a rubbery feel, but this one did not. The color is a light off-white. Most of them are white, but this was, I considered it a light off-white. The rolling process was easy, but with a feel of stiffness in the wrapper when wrapping the lumpia. Now the ingredients, most of these have the same ingredients. Many words that we can, pronounce, like wheat flour, water, and then other ingredients that we can pronounce but don't recognize, which is such a common thing with any packaged product when it comes to preserving them. So this one had minimal ingredients, just wheat flour, water. It says here highly refined coconut oil. This one does have milk as an ingredient in the wrapper. Many others did not. In fact, I think actually this is the only brand that has and contains milk in it. And it has wheat starch, maltodextrin, again, words that we can pronounce but don't always recognize, ascorbic acid. And the sodium is 55 grams. Which I think is a bit moderate, compared to the other brands. So that is Spring Home. So the next one that I have here is Oh Tasty, and Oh Tasty says the production. I don't know where exactly it's made, but it does say City of Industry, so that is in SoCal. But it's produced. The production is here in the U.S. And it says spring roll shells. That's the description on the package. The quantity is 25. It is square, obviously. The peel process was easy. And the texture of it, to the touch, is soft, smooth, and not rubbery. Again, some others did have that rubbery texture, but this one does not. The color is off-white from what I saw compared to the others. And the rolling process, I wrote here, says it felt a little dry or stiff. And whenever you buy lumpia wrappers or the spring roll wrappers, we don't know how long it's been sitting in the freezer. So when you want to shop at a store, any store, but at an Asian store, choose one that is really busy, that gets a lot of foot traffic, because then we know products are being turned out, right? So I don't know if this particular brand, if that's just the nature of it because of the ingredients, or if it's just because it is an older product, maybe it has been sitting in the freezer for some time and not being turned out. I don't know, but that was my personal experience, that it did feel a little dry or stiff when rolling the wrapper. And for ingredients, it's similar to Spring Home, the one I just did before. This one, wheat flour, water, salt, and again, a few other ingredients that we can pronounce but don't always recognize. And the sodium is 45 milligrams. And I found this one to be, let's see here, when frying it, this one actually had a nice sheen appearance. The others, when I fried them, had they looked fine, but I just noticed this one had a nice, like, kind of shiny and smooth result when frying the lumpia. And so that is oh tasty. Now we have Pomanna. Pomanna is a brand that you will find in Seafood City. And I have here that it is from Pomona, California. Let's see here. They call it on the package all-purpose lumpia wrapper. So of course there is deep fried lumpia, and then there's also the fresh lumpia. And so I believe it refers to that, saying all-purpose, that it can be used for both, but I personally have not tried to use this Pomanna for fresh lumpia, only deep fried. And the quantity is 30 wrappers per package, so a little bit more than Spring Home and Oh Tasty. Of course, it's square, obviously. The peel process is easy. The feel of it and to the touch was smooth, but with a drier feel. But it's not dried out, just a drier feel. And the color is off-white, a tinge of yellow. And the rolling process was easy, but with a thicker feel. And I still can remember, thinking back, even just sitting here filming this, I remember rolling with Pomanna and having it feel thicker as I was rolling it, thicker than the other lumpia wrappers. And again, the ingredients are similar. It doesn't have as many, just like Oh Tasty and Spring Home. The number of ingredients, the quantity of ingredients are very similar, or almost the same actually, and the sodium level is also the same. The sodium, I'm pointing out the sodium, not just for health reasons, but because of course that will determine the overall flavor in the end, at the end result. So that is Pomanna. And I have here, in terms of the frying, it's thicker, and that was noticeable. So that is Pomanna. We have next Menlo. So the Menlo wrap is very, very common. It can be found in many stores, and this might be the most recognizable lumpia wrapper or egg roll wrapper for most, you know, Filipinos, Asians. It's just, I don't know, the company just did really well in terms of distribution and getting their product into stores. So it will be highly recognizable. It says here the corporation is based in Palo Alto, California, not too far from me. And it says here on the package, all-purpose Chinese, Filipino, Vietnamese, and Mandarin wrappers. So that alone says that they have done a very good job in the outreach of this product. The quantity, in my experience, because I have used this over and over and over, I have repped thousands of lumpia with this brand. The quantity is, it says 30, but I have always found that there are 33 wrappers. So there can be anywhere between 30 and 33 wrappers in each package. And of course it's square. It's easy. So the peel process is easy, but they are more stuck together than the other brands. And you will notice this. If you are just starting out learning about lumpia, and that's also why I make these videos, it's not just for those of us who have been cooking, but I really want to help spread the culture and help those, you know, learn more about, you know, cooking and also these products. If you are just starting out, you will notice that the Menlo wrap is much stickier when you peel. So you have to do it a little more carefully. They don't tear. If it's a nice fresh product and it's being turned out again in stores, they don't tear, but they are noticeably sticky than the other brands. And so you will notice that. The color is, it's a little bit yellower. Let's see if I wrote that here. It's just, it's still a white color, but it's not as bright as the other brands. And that is because, let me show you. Let me go over it here. I'm going back to, in terms of rolling, it's very easy. So this is a very flexible, very great. This is a great Lumpia wrapper brand. It is super flexible when you roll. You don't have to be concerned about it being dry or hard when, you know, when rolling the Lumpia. But the color I found, it can darken faster when frying. And that's because this is the only product that I tested that has eggs. So of course, when anything contains eggs, even when you bake, when you brush egg over a product, it will turn brown. That's what eggs do. And so this is the only product that has eggs. And if this Lumpia, if you're testing out a few on your own, you will find that this will brown faster than the other brands. And of course, this brand you cannot say is vegan. So if you're trying to make vegan egg rolls, vegan Lumpia, you wouldn't use the Menlo brand, but it's still a wonderful, awesome product. The sodium, of course, is higher. It's about 85 milligrams, and that of course means there is more flavor. Menlo tastes wonderful, it tastes great. But there is an increase of sodium, of course, that goes along with that. And so that is Menlo. So now we have a product called Wei Chuan. I tested out two different wrappers from this same brand. So we are doing Wei Chuan. Let me just get my note here. Wei Chuan, I called it number 1, but number 1 means, it just means the spring roll shell. Excuse me. Okay, so I have the Wei Chuan spring roll shell. The other one is called Wei Chuan spring roll pastry Lumpia wrapper. Okay, so but we are doing the spring roll shell first. And we have here that the quantity is 25, not as much as Menlo. And it says halal. Okay, so it is kosher, so to speak, in terms of halal. And it's very easy to peel. The package states that it is, and it is true, as the package states, that it's an easy peel. It is easy to peel. The texture is grainy, slightly thicker than the other brand. It's a sister brand, and there's no rubber resistance when feeling, when feeling the wrapper. The color is an off-white tinge of yellow, and the color, of course, is determined by ingredients, the mix of ingredients. The rolling process is easy, and there is a whole lot of ingredients in this one, in both of their brands. And again, names that we can recognize and pronounce, names but things that we wouldn't recognize. Sorry, that's what I meant. And so, things like monodiglycerides, and polyphosphates and stuff like that, just stuff for preservation. And but there's a whole lot of ingredients. The more ingredients and words that we can't recognize, there is concern there. Okay, but we're not trying to make any brand look bad, but there are a lot of ingredients, and you will see this for yourself. I don't even have to put this in a video. You can go to the store and you'll see how many ingredients for yourself there are that you can't really recognize. But the sodium level, it jumps. It spikes to 150 milligrams. So of course there's flavor there, but just know that that is the level of sodium. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the Wei Chuan number 2, which is the spring roll pastry Lumpia wrapper. It says that here on the package. So they are obviously gearing this towards the Filipino culture. And again, there's 25 wrappers, also halal. The wrapping, the rolling process is easy. And same thing, very similar in terms of texture, softer feel. It's a little softer than the spring roll. So the Lumpia version, the Lumpia one for Wei Chuan is softer than than the other one, but it's very similar. The color's very similar, just a little lighter than the spring roll. And the difference between the Wei Chuan spring roll and the Wei Chuan lumpia wrapper, again, both the same company, different, same brand, but different product. The lumpia wrapper product of Wei Chuan has rice starch, and the other one does not. But otherwise, it has the same amount of ingredients in there. So there's a whole lot of things like sodium benzoate and acetic acid, you know, things like that, and things like soy lecithin, which is in many products. But there's a lot in there, so it's not as it's not as simple as the other products. And the sodium is 140 milligrams. So there is flavor in this product, but just know the sodium spikes and jumps to that level. So that is Wei Chuan. Okay, friends, we are at our final 3 of the lumpia wrapper test. And so we have here, just looking at my notes here, we just finished 2 Wei Chuan brands, 2 different products. Now we're going to go over 2 different Tropics brand products. So the first one, Tropics, can also be found at Seafood City along with the Pomanna brand. And the Tropics here, the first one I'm doing, on the package here it says pastry wrappers, balat ng lumpia, but then there's also a French term here, envelope, excuse my French, envelope de pâtisserie. I know I totally butchered that, but there is a French term on there, and which tells me they could be selling this product, of course, in Europe. But of course, it's all marketing, branding, trying to get the product out there. But the Tropics brand has approximately 20 wrappers in the package. So that's probably the least amount, the least quantity of all the wrappers that I tested here. The shape is round, okay? So that's how the original lumpia wrappers are made. When you make them, you know, from scratch on your own, by hand, literally by hand, you have this sticky dough, and then you place it on a really hot stone, and then you lift the dough, and the wrapper stays on there, but it literally cooks in seconds, and then you take it off. And that is the original way of making egg roll wrappers, lumpia wrappers. And so this is round, and it resembles that process. The features, so I put here closest to homemade, authentic style Filipino wrapper. Again, I don't like to use the word authentic, but that is the original way, that not just in the Philippines, but that's how wrappers, egg roll wrappers, lumpia wrappers are made. The peel process is easy, rougher, not smooth, and there are some uneven spots, and that's because it's homemade. That's how it is. And then when I do another video on that, you will see that there is kind of an inconsistent texture and feel to it when you make them homemade. But these wrappers are great, and they taste great too. The color is whiter than the other brands. The rolling process is not as flexible, I found. If the product itself is not kept sealed and moist, you know, to keep lumpia wrappers moist, when you keep them in the fridge for a few days, you want to put in a damp paper towel and put them in a Ziploc and keep them moist. But I found that it was not as flexible because it was drier. And it says here, this product will dry out faster and will tear when wrapping. So you want to keep, if you want to use this product is actually really great. I really like this product. If you want to use it, you want to keep this, you want to keep this more damp than the other products. The other products you can kind of just wrap up and put in, but this you definitely want to put in a damp towel and keep it nice and moist Otherwise, when you roll them, they will just all tear, and then you're just gonna have to throw it away. But this doesn't have as many ingredients as the Wei Chuan, but it has more than the Pomanna, O Tasty, and Spring Home. And here's the thing, this product had the highest amount of sodium, 320 milligrams. Yes, you heard that right. 320. So you just want to think, if you are trying to watch your sodium levels, which I know many people are, you want to think twice about, using this product. But hey, if you're young and you're healthy and you got time to spare, girl, go for it. Boy, go for it. Tropics is for you. It's a wonderful product. And so that is the Tropics, the pastry wrapper, balat ng lumpia with the French envelope de pâtisserie. And the other Tropics is spring roll skins, also says balat ng lumpia. And this shape is square. This shape is square. And there are 25 lumpia wrappers in it. So a little more than its sister product. And it says non-stick, super thin. The peel process is easy. Its sister brand is easier than this one, but this one says easy. Smooth, the texture is smooth, only slight rubber resistance. The color is an off-white kind of cream color. The rolling process I put here is easy. And this one has a lot of ingredients as well, the same as Wei Chuan. So they are sister products, same brand, but it has significantly more ingredients than the other one. But even in the increase of ingredients, it has significantly less sodium. So this one only has 95 milligrams of sodium. So I found that interesting, but this is vegan. Both of them are vegan. I don't see any eggs. I don't see milk or anything like that, any dairy. So that is the Tropics brand in terms of its ingredients, look, feel, quantity, all of that. That's the Tropics brand that can be found at Seafood City along with the Pomanna brand. The last one that I tested, this is our 9th one, and this one is Cymex. And this, the location noted on the package, and if there was a location noted, I mentioned it. If I didn't mention a location, I didn't see it on the package. So this one is Laguna, Philippines, Cabuyao, and which is wonderful. And we have here the title description, original lumpia wrapper, and in parentheses, spring roll wrapper. And then there's also a French term, just like the Tropics did. I'm not even going to say the French term. That just looks crazy, and I'll just embarrass myself. But this says original lumpia wrapper, and yeah, it is. So it's round, first of all, so that's a sign of it being original. The quantity is 50. Hello, value for the money. So 50. And the peel process is not easy. It says right here, it's like I made sure to note it. It was not easy. So the sheets are tightly stuck together. They are tightly stuck together, and you need to let it sit out at least 30 minutes prior to peeling. So just know that. Okay, but don't let that be a turn off. It's not easy, but let it sit out. But they are nice and thin. They are nice and thin. And the texture is naturally rough. You're going to find this with any lumpia wrapper, whether you make it yourself or you buy it in the store. It's going to be naturally rough because it's homemade. And that is the original way the wrappers were made. So there's kind of like an uneven, inconsistent, kind of bumpy appearance and even feel in the wrapper. The rolling process is easy, but it's a little stiffer than the other wrappers. So again, you want to keep the wrappers nice and moist with a damp towel in a Ziploc. And, you know, if you're not going to be using the wrapper right away, keep it nice and moist. This brand had the least amount of ingredients, and it's vegan. And for the most part, it's words you can pronounce and kind of recognize. There's one that's a little bit strange, but it has the least amount of ingredients, so it's a very simple product. And the sodium, you know, is 135 milligrams. So it's up there, but it's not like terrible. You know what I mean? And it's certainly not the 320 that the other brand had. So that is Cymex. And that is the final, the 9th one that I tested. And now we will quickly go over the frying process and, you know, the flavor, and then I'll let you know my top pick. Let's go ahead and go over really quick my frying process here and some flavor, and then I'll let you know my top pick. And so I have here, let me just go back in the same order that we started with, which is Spring Home. Okay, Spring Home. So this had a paler fry. That's what I noticed. You can fully deep fry if you want, but I kind of did like a shallow fry, but they still fry, you know, well doing that without having to fully, you know, deep fry and have them like immersed in the oil. But they all generally fried well and had a nice, you know, brown color as they, you know, as lumpia should. But this did have a paler fry, and it took a little bit longer to brown. And I found that the flavor was like not the greatest. So I just want to say that. So the flavor was just, you know, it was okay, and it was a paler fry. That's Spring Home. And then the next one, we did Oh Tasty. And this Oh Tasty, and I think I even mentioned it already, that this had the nicest sheen appearance of all the lumpia. It just had a really nice, smooth, shiny, you know, sheen appearance to the lumpia. And it had a nice thin crunch. That's what I noticed. That was very noticeable. But there was also, the flavor was just kind of blasé. So there's not much flavor for the Oh Tasty from what I found. Okay. And the next one is Pomanna. And Pomanna was, of course, thicker, which I mentioned. It's thicker, and the flavor was good. Actually, the flavor was good. It was thicker. It had crunch, but it was thicker. So whenever it's thicker, you're going to have like that wrapper taste. And you'll see what I mean. I think you'll start, if you didn't notice before, you know, when you're just enjoying lumpia, you may notice these things now, that the lumpia wrappers that are thicker, you feel like you're tasting more wrapper. Okay, so that's what I found with Pomanna. The flavor is nice though. And then the next one I did after Pomanna was Menlo, right? And Menlo is a very enjoyable lumpia wrapper brand. So many use it. Of course, like I said before, it browns the quickest, and I think that's because it's the only lumpia wrapper that I tested. But I think it might be the only wrapper out of anything that you find that has eggs. So that will attribute to the quick browning when frying. And there's lots of taste in this wrapper, a lot of it. I enjoy Menlo, and I know so many enjoy it as well. And the flavor's great. The flavor's great for only having 85 milligrams of sodium. Okay, so that's Menlo. And then the next one I did after Menlo was the Wei Chuan, but it's the Wei Chuan. Which one is this? Because there are two. The Wei Chuan spring roll shell. Wei Chuan. Let me just give me a moment here. Wei Chuan spring roll shell. Wei Chuan. And this one, of course, again has a lot of ingredients, right? I've noted that earlier. And the taste was didn't have a lot of flavor, but the crunch was good. Okay, so the crunch was good, but not a whole lot of flavor. And then the other Wei Chuan, the spring roll pastry lumpia wrapper, because it's being tailored to lumpia and, you know, Filipino lumpia, our culture. So Wei Chuan lumpia wrapper had good flavor, and the taste, the texture seemed thinner than its sister product. Okay, so the lumpia wrapper, although it's the same brand, this product that's tailored to lumpia and Filipino lumpia, the texture and taste was thinner, which is nice, right? You don't taste as much wrapper. See what I mean? And so that's Wei Chuan. And then now we are on to Tropics. So Tropics fried, oh yeah, and both of those fried nicely. They were nice and brown. I didn't see any major issues when frying, like no blotches of like white and then brown. That's what I mean. So it fried nicely. And then Tropics, pastry wrappers, the one with that, you know, the French term. Let me just look it up here. So this one was the one that resembles the original way of making lumpia wrappers, and it had a texture of, I remember, like it was kind of bumpy, and you're gonna get that because it's homemade, or at least it looks like it's made the homemade way. But there's definitely, it's not nice and smooth, you know, like the O Tasty one. So the original wrappers, when they're made the original way, there's kind of like this bumpy, rougher texture. And it was chewy. It was kind of like the taste of it. It browned very nicely, but it was like chewy. And that's how the original lumpia wrappers taste. There is like this kind of chew to them when they're made kind of fresh and homemade. So that's how that one turned out for me, crunchy but chewy. And then the other Tropics, the sister product, spring roll skins, okay? Spring roll skins had good flavor. It had crunch. It browned nicely, just like the others. But it did kind of have like a wrapper taste, just like, you know, the other ones like Pomanna. I did kind of taste that wrapper taste. So that's Tropics. And then Cymex was the last one, and this one had really nice flavor, I found. Going back, excuse me here, going back to Tropics. So what's interesting is I noted that Tropics has 320 milligrams, and then the other product has 95. Cymex here has 135 milligrams, but I found the flavor to be the nicest. That was like the first thing I noticed. It was like a nice balanced overall flavor. It was nice and thin. It was crunchy. And when you fry it, the frying looked kind of uneven, but I found that at the end of it, it actually rounded out pretty nicely, and it was brown pretty evenly, and that kind of surprised me too. But Cymex I found had the nicest flavor. It was nice and crunchy, but also thin, and it's made the original way too. Now, the peeling again is hard and it's very sticky, but even with that, if you can just get through that, actually the product is really great. So those are the notes for all those 9 lumpia wrappers, and I'm going to need a drum roll. If you can just make a drum roll for me, I'll try to find one online somewhere that's legal to use, but drum roll, please. My number 1 pick for the lumpia wrap test kitchen is Cymex. Cymex is my top choice out of 9 lumpia wrappers. And I'm quite surprised actually, but very proud too, of course. I don't know the real origins of where every product is made and produced, but this one said it's from Laguna. And the location, of course, didn't influence me at all. But I had not used Cymex before. And so I actually had found it to be the overall best out of the 9 lumpia wrappers. The taste was great. The taste was great, and it had less sodium than the other product. And it's made, you know, the homemade way. And these lumpias I let sit for a good 20-30 minutes. I think like 30 minutes, and it was still crunchy. So that's my choice. It is Cymex. Cymex is the best lumpia wrapper that I tested. And believe me, I'm going to be using that moving forward. And I'm not getting paid to say that as well. Please know that. And thank you for joining me here. And I hope this helps. And you can do your own test if you'd like. But I hope I've saved you from having to test out different products. And there you have it, Cymex. Thank you for joining me here today. I appreciate your support. Please encourage family and friends to join me here and subscribe. And I can't wait to be with you again soon for the next video.